Hey guys, Peter here to do an album review. Today I'm here to talk to you about the latest album from Mammoth Mammoth, Kreuzung, out November 8th on Napalm Records. This album has 11 tracks, 40 minutes in length, and this is the band's fifth full-length studio album. For those of you that don't know, these guys are from Australia, and they're a rock band with a little bit of a sludge element to their sound. This album, as the band is a rock band, this album is a rock album through and through, from the beginning to the end. I just feel like it has a little bit more grit, a little bit more raw. I wouldn't necessarily call it hard rock. To me, it's still a rock and roll album, but it has a little bit of an edge to it. And then obviously some sludge elements at play. They're not the main driving force behind the record. They do not dictate the sound or the style of the album, but they do give the songs a little bit of more flavor. They give a little bit more layers to the tracks, and you can totally pick them as you're going through the record. You can pick them for certain songs and see where those elements are, and you can see the life that they bring to the songs. The album, like I said, is 40 minutes in length, and those 40 minutes just fly by, which to me really speaks of the sound and structure that this album has, that allows the listener to just sit down, press play, and the next thing you know, the album is finished. That to me is always a magnificent thing. The moment you can sit down and listen to a record and lose yourself in time with that album, to me always speaks volumes about the quality of the record. The album is very linear in its approach. There's no deviations, straightforward, to the point, taking you from one song to the next, moving it on an individual track-by-track basis. It's not an album that has songs that require a lot from the listener to digest them, to break them down, to really understand what was going on. It's not an overcomplicated record. It's an overly simplified one. And that all of that plays into the playability that the album has. There's nothing elaborate, there's nothing overcomplicated. It's just a really well-constructed rock and roll album. And when you have a well-constructed rock and roll album, you have a good album that has good playability. That is what you have at your hands. The other element, in my opinion, as far as the sound is concerned, is the rawness that the sound of the album has, the grit that it has. This is a studio record that sounds almost like a live record without the audience. So if you could imagine a jam session that the band records live, this is the sound that you're going to get from this record. It really has that feel of a live album without an audience, but that was recorded in the studio. I love albums that have this kind of sound because it allows me to connect more with the music. It allows me to feel like I'm there when the album was recorded. It gives the songs a lot more strength, more grit. Like I said, it makes them more raw, makes them slightly heavier. So I really like that about this album. I really like that the fact that the album has that kind of sound is really noticeable as you're going through. The bass on this album is not hidden at all. That was one of the elements that really spoke to me. I really like, specifically for rock albums, I really like the bass to be predominant, to have a predominant role in the sound of the album. And on this record, I really felt that way about it. It gives the album that grit that it has. The rawness that the album has not only comes from the guitars, but a lot of the times comes from the sound of the bass and how predominant that bass sound is throughout the album. So I like that condiment. I like that extra element that they put there, not hiding the bass anywhere, really pushing the bass more to the forefront, allowing it to be one of the predominant factors of the album, because that really influences the sound and it really gives the studio record a live setting kind of vibe. I love that. The guitar riffs are absolutely magnificent. The solos, the melodies, I really like what they did with the guitars on this record. They kept them simple. They didn't overcomplicate it with solos or melodies or hooks. They just kept the guitars very simple, very raw, almost like I said, almost like they were playing it live. So I like that as well. Keeping things simple allows the album to be extremely playable. Last but not least, I really want to mention Mickey's vocals, because I feel like they add such a great rebellious attitude to the overall record. This is an album that, in my opinion, when you're listening to it, the music has that grit to it, but the vocals add to it. They add this over-the-top rebellious attitude, this spunk, if you will, to the overall sound that the album has. So I really feel like his vocal performance on this album was the perfect match. The two really feed off of each other, and not only they feed off of each other, they really complement each other extremely well from the first to the last song. Perfect partnership, vocals and music, as far as this album is concerned. All right, let's talk about some tracks. I want to start with I'm Ready. That's the opening track on the album. I love this as an opening track because if you're not a fan of the band, if you don't know the band, and you're sitting down to listen to this album and to listen to this band for the first time, they could have not picked a better opening track. This song almost has a little bit of a Motorhead riff to it, Motorhead sound to it, even structure and style. So I really like this as an opening track because it's your prototypical rock and roll, hard rock but pure rock and roll track. Has all of those condiments that Motorhead made popular, so they included all of that into this song. Perfect way to get the album started, perfect way to get everybody's foot in the door. The song has a great tempo, it's nasty at times, it's heavy at times. The riffs really are the glue that holds this whole song together from the beginning all the way to the end. At the midpoint section of the song, there's a great solo, just really magnificent. It just really enhances the beauty, enhances the power that the track has, but it strays true to the overall mood and energy that the song had all the way up to that point, that we'll continue to have after the solo. So the solo doesn't break the song, it just adds something to it. The chorus is very catchy, and the addition of a few backing vocals, there's very few backing vocals in the chorus, and some spots in the chorus really add a little bit of darkness and volume to the vocals. I really feel like that gives the chorus a little bit more of a thicker sound, and it works really well for this track. Screamin, that's another song that I really enjoyed on this album. Great rock song that starts a little bit more sludgy. This one has a little bit more of that sludge metal influence into it. So it starts a little bit more sludgy, but it still has a really great tempo, and it moves really quickly forward. It has a great chorus, really catchy, really hooky. That's something that they did throughout the record. Pure rock songs, you want to make them simple, you want to make them hooky and catchy, and really use the chorus as the heartbeat of the tracks. And this one, Screamin, does that for sure, 100%. It's a song that really, in its chorus, it's its heartbeat, and it's very hooky, very catchy. A song that has the verses against the chorus kind of structure, that up and down feel of verses and chorus. So you always feel the song switching moods, transitioning from verses to chorus. That's the kind of feel that you're going to get from this track. That's the kind of structure that you're going to get. It's a song that has very good fluidity, even though you go from chorus and verses and you feel like there's a separation of the two. The way the transition happens is very smooth, and you don't feel like there's a break. There's just a very smooth transition between the two. So overall, it's a song that has a great fluidity to it. Last but not least, Mad World. I like this one because it started with the drums. The drums really open up the song. And then you get the guitar riff that comes in. It just sounds absolutely filthy. I love how that guitar riff kind of merges in a few seconds into the song, getting started with the drums, and the two just kind of come together and create such a great dynamic tempo for the song. It just creates a great song moving forward. The vocals add a little bit of darkness to it. The tone of the vocals is almost a little bit irreverent, which matches the mood of the song. There's almost a sense of inner screaming that's coming through the vocals. Not that the vocals are screaming vocals, but there's just a sense of built-up anger that's coming through, and the mood and the tone that the vocals are coming out. And to me, that matches the lyrics and matches the overall mood and atmosphere that this song has to offer. The guitar solo in the middle of the track, it's like absolutely pouring gasoline into a fire. That's how that solo sounds to me. It's just absolutely high octane solo, over the top. It just really elevates the track. It explodes the track. It honestly feels like the track was on fire and they just poured a gallon of gasoline on top of it. That's the kind of feel that you get from the guitar solo on this track, and then the boost of energy that it gives to the overall song. Really magnificent track, magnificent song, magnificent album. If you're a fan of rock and roll, and you really like a well-written rock and roll album that allows yourself to get lost in it, and that has great fluidity, great playability, this album is for you. These guys really impressed me with this record. I really like everything that they threw at us, the listeners, including the fact that this album, while being in the studio, really sounds like a live recording. I really love that. It gives that extra grit to the album. It makes it a little bit more raw, more in your face. This is it, guys. This is Mammoth Mammoth with Kreuzung, out November 8th. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. As always, I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.